and welcome to the Gamified Evolution bonus training. In today's training, I'm going to teach you the exact process both Daniel and I have used over the past few years to consistently and predictably generate power and production in our lives and achieve things that many have deemed impossible. In my own life, I've used this practice to earn my first six figures by the age of 21 and dramatically increase my income year after year, every year. I used it to pay off more than $30,000 in debt to the IRS and on credit cards, to weaponize my body and not only stay at sub 10% body fat year round, but consistently increase my performance in every area of life. I used this to attract and marry the woman of my dreams and continue to deepen our relationship year after year for the past 5 years. And I've used this practice to acquire dozens of skills, from playing the guitar to spinning fire to jujitsu to writing, and a whole lot more. And I don't say any of this to impress you, but to impress upon you the power that this training has to impact your life. But before we dive into the specific strategies and tactics you can use to create results like this in your life, I want to illustrate the core principle of this training with a quick story. In the year 1910, two explorers set out on a race to be the first men to reach the South Pole. The Englishman Robert Falcon Scott and the Norwegian Roald Amundsen. And although their goal was the same, their approaches and respective outcomes were wildly different. Scott and his men based their expedition on the environment in which they found themselves each day. When the skies were clear and the days were warm, well, as warm as can be expected in the South Pole, they would exert Herculean effort, trekking 80 miles or more in a single day. And when the weather turned on them, they would hunker down and rest. Amundsen, on the other hand, led his team with a very simple and seemingly counterintuitive strategy. Every day, regardless of the climate or environmental factors, his team would march 20 miles, no more, no less. And in the end, not only did he and his men reach the pole first, but they returned safely to their camp no worse for the wear. Scott and his men did reach the pole, but they died on the return journey from starvation, exhaustion, and exposure. And this story serves as a perfect illustration, not only for the physical adventures and expeditions upon which we may embark, but for every journey in which we find ourselves. You see, all too often, we're encouraged by our modern society to hustle, grind, and push ourselves to the point of breaking. Intensity, rather than consistency, is the name of the modern game. And in an ironic twist of fate, working too hard and attempting to change too much too quickly is often more detrimental to our long-term success than doing nothing at all. I know it was for me. For years, I believed that change was only worth a damn if it was huge. It wasn't enough to exercise 2 to 3 times a week. I had to train every day. It wasn't enough to save 10% of my income to try and get out of debt. I had to save 50. It wasn't enough to go on one date night with my wife. I needed several date nights and daily connection rituals. And if you look back at your life, chances are you tried to change some part of your reality using the same strategy. Going from a sedentary and unhealthy lifestyle to attempting to work out 5 days a week and eat a full paleo diet. Going from a spendthrift to a penny pincher and slashing your expenses by 70% overnight. Attempting to meditate, journal, read, and engage in self-development every single day, even though you've never made any of those things habits in the past. And although it seems paradoxical, and it flies in the face of nearly everything mainstream society encourages us to do, the game of intensity is a losing one. The key to lasting success in relationships, in fitness, in finances, and in life is to commit to the long and slow game of consistency. To embark on your own 20-mile march every single day, trusting that over time, the compound effect will result in the life you desire. And as you work through the fallout of your past relationship and begin stepping into your new identity as a masculine leader and more powerful man, it will be tempting to try and change your life with big, broad strokes, to change everything all at once, and to try and fundamentally alter the very fabric of your DNA overnight. Don't. Although this path holds a certain allure, it's nothing more than a siren song. If you let it, it will drag you down to the depths of despair and leave you shipwrecked and hopeless, worse than you were when you began. The key to lasting change is to make small and almost imperceptible tweaks, but to make them consistently. Think about it this way. We know that on average, a person can only change one habit in a major area of life at a time. Sure, there are ways around this number and certain tactics for structuring your personal evolution that allow you to move faster. But even so, most people can only change one action per life area per month. And yet, despite a veritable mountain of research, the average man still attempts to change dozens of habits in one fell swoop, briefly experiencing the highs of success before plummeting down to the depths of failure. And the problem with this approach is that it reinforces a negative self-identity. The more frequently you attempt to make huge changes in a short amount of time and inevitably fail to do so, the more you reinforce the belief that I can't change or I'm a failure. But when you commit to the unsexy consistency that all great men adhered to, you reinforce a different type of identity. You prove to yourself day after day that you're a man of your word, someone who's capable of change and growth, however small or seemingly insignificant it might be. Just consider what this approach looks like practically over the course of a 12-month timeline. One man, understanding the importance of the 20-mile march, commits to only one small change each month. And another man, believing himself an outlier and an exception to the laws of human nature, attempts to change everything all at once and now. During the first few weeks, it might seem like the second man is wiser and more driven than the first. He begins waking up earlier, exercising every day, pounding back green smoothies, meditating like a monk, and reading dozens and dozens of pages. But after a few weeks, he relapses. One day of exhaustion throws him off the horse, causing him to hit snooze and miss his wake-up time. Feeling rushed and behind, he skips all of his other daily practices just this once. And within a matter of days, he's back to his old habits and behaviors, only to start the cycle anew at the beginning of the next month, trying, failing, and ultimately accomplishing nothing. The first man, however, understands the importance of working within the laws of his own nature. During the first month, he only attempts one small change, waking up 15 minutes earlier than he normally does and drinking a big glass of water first thing in the morning. It isn't much, but he does it consistently. The next month, he introduces a short morning walk or jog into his new routine, again, committing to the habit with die-hard consistency, while leaving the rest of his life more or less untouched. He continues in this way, until by year's end, his life is unrecognizable from what it was only 12 months earlier. He's waking up earlier, exercising consistently, eating healthier foods, feeding his mind, deepening his spiritual practice, and making more time in his days for socializing and pouring into his own cup. That is the power of the 20-mile march. And it applies just as directly to becoming a more powerful and masculine leader as it does to forming any other positive habit. The men who attempt to fundamentally change every facet of their person, eschewing all nice guy habits and behaviors and trying to fake masculine traits until they make it, these men ultimately fail. But the men who commit to the long game, making one small change at a time, starting by saying no to personal and professional engagements they aren't interested in, working on holding eye contact and slowing down their speech when engaged in conversation, making time each day to create something meaningful to them, those are the men who will succeed in the long run. And it's my hope that you will commit to becoming this type of man, to embracing the long game of success and the 20-mile march to freedom. This is the core philosophy of gamified evolution. And the principles of gamified evolution are simple. To start, you must clearly identify and articulate your one big goal for each major area of life, specifically health, wealth, work, relationships, mind, and spirit. And yes, you should have only one goal for each category. Ideally something that is just outside the realm of your comfort zone, but not so far outside of your current reality that it feels unachievable. When you have one clear goal for each area of your life, achieving it becomes much easier. For example, here's what some of your goals might look like. You might want to lose 20 pounds, invest $10,000, get a promotion or launch a new product, go on at least 2 date nights a month, learn how to play Jimi Hendrix's Little Wing on the guitar, and meditate for 90 consecutive days. And once you have your goals identified, the next step is to reverse engineer the processes required to achieve those goals. And this is where things get interesting. Because even though you should only attempt to implement one new habit, meaning something that you do every single day each month, some of the processes required to achieve your goals can be automated and may not require a massive behavioral shift. For example, to achieve your wealth goal of investing $10,000, you could simply email your employer and ask them to withhold $416 from each pay cycle and put it into your 401k. Or, if you're self-employed, you could simply automate monthly deposits into your investment account so you never have to think about saving the money. To achieve your relationship goal of going on 2 dates a month, you can use the power of online dating. Ask your friends to introduce you to any single women they think might be a good fit, or sign up for a singles meetup in your area. Unlike some of the other goals that you've set, these goals don't require habitual shifts, but rather 1 to 2 infrequent actions. And once you've identified these types of goals, the next steps is to reverse engineer the habits you will need to develop to achieve some of the more difficult goals. Make a list of every habit that you need to develop to achieve your goal, and then pick the easiest one to get started. For example, if you want to lose 20 pounds, you'll need to eliminate soda and replace it with sparkling water, take a natural research-backed fat burner to reduce your appetite and regulate your metabolism, lift weights 3 times a week, practice intermittent fasting, and adopt a diet that's 80% whole and organic foods and only 20% fun foods. Now, looking at this list, we can now organize and break down these habits further to create a clear and achievable plan to reach your goal. During the first month, you're simply going to take a natural fat burner every single day with breakfast. Once you've done that, the second habit would be replacing soda with sparkling water. Then, the next month, you'd implement intermittent fasting and only eat from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And by this point, chances are you'll already have lost 5 to 10 pounds. But now that you've built some momentum, you can continue stacking new positive habits on top of each other to get to the finish line. To start, instead of lifting weights 3 times a week straight out of the gate, maybe you simply lift weights once a week for the first month, and then twice a week, and then 3 times a week. And finally, you can begin shifting your meals to focus on whole, healthy foods. During the first month, you simply eat a whole food breakfast. Then the next month, you add in lunch. And in the final month, you make a full switch where 80% of your calories are coming from whole, organic sources. All told, over the span of 9 months, you'd have gone from 20 pounds overweight, sedentary and unhealthy, to achieving your ideal physique, training 3 days a week, and eating a supercharged diet. All by following the principle of the 20-mile march. Are you starting to see why this process is so powerful? To gamify your evolution even further, I encourage you to turn each of these goals into, well, a game. Once you've identified your goals and the one habit per area of life you're going to focus on right now, turn each habit into a daily and weekly challenge. Ideally, you should only have 4 daily habits you're focused on at a given time, with 2 of your goals relying on habits that can either be automated or done intermittently, like setting up an automated savings account. Now keep a scorecard on your laptop or in a journal, and for each habit you complete each day, give yourself 1 point. At the end of the week, your goal is to achieve 28 points total. And to make this practice stick, you want to select habits that can be completed during your morning routine and finished before you leave for work in the morning. Again, we're focused on simple, achievable, daily action steps, not huge changes. All told, this practice should take you less than an hour, but when you're done, it will feel as if your very soul is on fire. By focusing on small changes in the right order at the right time, you can rapidly change and transform your life. It might not happen in 30 days or even 6 months, but over the course of 1 to 2 years, you'll look in the mirror and be unrecognizable to your former self. Select your core 4 habits now. If you're already following all of the habits above, feel free to select your own inside of each of the areas of life. Commit to your habits for 30 days. That's all for this training. Take care, and I'll see you again soon.